Hello. It's been raining since this morning, non-stop almost, and I've decided to share the beauty of such a serene day with you all. I don't normally like the rain, I don't normally like this type of weather, but today I find it quite soothing. It must be the energy of the day, I don't know. Or perhaps me noticing how the nature started to change. Within one day, I suddenly noticed that all the birches started to change color of the leaves. The rest of the trees are still okay, but birches within a few hours of today suddenly going yellow. It's quite amazing. Very odd, very interesting. I've never paid attention to that before. It's amazing how much we start noticing when we go with the flow of the energies that the elements of the nature, they present to us. If we embrace and let them flow through us, we discover so much worth knowing, and so much that we already knew but didn't quite have up on the surface, I suppose, accessible. Now, having said that, I've been contemplating about something after watching a video which shared a dietary advice for cancer treatment, and I thought I'll start sharing with the people who might find it interesting and useful my experience of cancer. I hope I will not have to deal with it personally, although I had a very close call and a scare last year, before the pandemic. And it made me think quite deep about a few things and evaluate life and about what matters. I thought was worth sharing is the gift that my mother left me before she passed away. She died in my arms, pretty much. So until her last breath, I was witness to what cancer can do to a person. And the reason I decided to share this is because the diet in itself is a large part of our well-being, and certainly part of recovering or curing cancer. But that alone cannot either prevent or cure the disease. From my observation, cancer is an emotional disease. It is a disease in unexpressed emotions. It is what we suppress and or repress, where we detach ourselves from the feelings, when we are not transparent with what we feel, we are not transparent with ourselves and or the world around us. It is very important to be truthful about our emotions and feelings as and when we experience them, and honor them, or they go inward and cause quite a lot of damage, which could be potentially lethal. Lethal because that creates a process where our cells mutate and create another entity within us energetically, which starts to consume our flesh, our physical avatar. Now, the dietary requirements and advice I can share separately later, and thankfully to all the advice that was available to me back then, we have been able to extend my mother's life by 7 years, even though she was given 6 months to a year to live, for one of the most aggressive cancer forms known today. I've watched the dynamics from the moment my mother was diagnosed to her last breath. I've seen how she nearly overcome the disease, to the extent where at one point her grey hair was starting to grow dark again. It was filled with pigment, and it would seem that her body was regenerating and she was recovering. However, the chemical impact to her body of chemo that she undergone was so severe that she eventually started to lose the battle with the disease, because her mental capacity, her mental strength, willpower was not allowing her to beat it anymore. The disease was proving to be stronger. She is one of the strongest people I've ever met in my life. There was nothing she could not overcome. But when it came to emotions, she wasn't even truthful with us, her children, to the full degree. And I'm not saying this as a criticism to her. I'm saying this out of compassion and understanding what it is that she fell victim to, I suppose, and why she lost the battle to cancer. It wasn't enough for all of us around her to show the love. She found herself isolated and in a very dark place, no matter how much love there was around her, because her thoughts were turning darker as the disease progressed, and as she allowed the weakness within her physical body and emotional body to extend over to the mental body. And she became almost enslaved by the energies that the disease represented. And that energy consisted of all the emotions that we feel ashamed to express. I saw them all during her last moments of life, when her body was no longer alive, I suppose. It showed quite clear sign of life living it. Her face expressed emotions which I've only seen in the worst ever, most gruesome horror movies, and I do not watch horror movies, I don't like them. But that experience left me traumatized to such a degree that I felt compelled to understand what was it that I saw, what was it that I've encountered that day, what was it that made me feel I was looking at something else but my mother. It did not feel like her anymore. I was witnessing an energy which lived inside her while the disease was progressing, and that, whatever it was eating her alive. This is why I'm recording this, and I will do more thinking about how best to present it to you, to make it more comprehensible, I suppose. When we speak of energies and entities and ghosts and spirits, it's easy to get lost in all of that. I only judge by what I've felt, and I've asked angels and the Holy Spirit to guide me through the process and guide me through helping my mother's spirit to transition. I held her hand the entire time and prayed for her soul while she was battling with this energy which tortured her soul for so long. And throughout the pandemic, I had plenty of time to contemplate on what it was that I've experienced, because I myself found myself in very deep places, digging deep into my subconscious and emotions, and trying to untangle some things which I felt were necessary for my own well-being. My whole process was guided, basically. It was guided, and it still is guided by the Creator, which flows through us all at every given moment. It is our mind that blocks the flow most of the time, because we act out of fear and not out of love. And I've seen a lot of fear in my mother. I've seen a great deal of fear, anxiety, anguish, leading to control. And again, this is not being said out of criticism. I love her very much. I loved her, and I do not wish this to put any shadow to her name or to the memory of her life on earth. To the contrary, I believe that she lived not in vain, and she has passed on a great gift which the humanity can benefit from, which is why I'm compelled to speak about it, to share with you. All her life she acted out of others' expectations and responsibilities and complying to the norm, somebody else's norm, somebody else's decision what the norm was, but her own. But her soul was created to fly. Her soul was created to be a star. She should have been, I don't know, a movie star, a great dancer, a musician. She was so talented. She was so beautiful, so intelligent. But the sheer fact that she never truly lived her life the way she should have, the way she could have, and she suppressed her emotions to the degree of mutation. Yes, that's the only way I can describe it. Mutation at a molecular level. When we suppress our emotions and feelings, they do not find outlet, appropriate outlet for what they are. However ugly they may feel to us, however unacceptable they may appear to us or others, we must not suppress them. We must find an appropriate outlet for all that we feel. Otherwise, it goes inward, and it implodes. It creates some sort of nuclear reaction inside our bodies, which then leads to an absolute destruction from within, where we create a portal, I suppose, of some sort within our auric field, allowing the denser energies, the lower frequency energies to penetrate us and take hold of us at a purely biological level. The way I feel it and the way I've seen in my dreams, the implosion creates a mutation at a molecular level. The cells start to behave as if they've been infected by something else. And in fact, they have been infected. Of course, they have been infected by the radicals, which start to take over and create new chemical reactions within the body, which suppress the immune system, which suppress functions of regeneration, and so on and so forth. Now, when it comes to emotions and expression of such, movement is one of the key elements of staying healthy. Naturally, this is not a question of just exercising to have a great looking body. It is first and foremost activation of correct flow of the energies, the processes within each organ, and they're all interconnected, they're all interrelated. In fact, the number of teeth that we have in our mouth, they correlate to the organs that we have. each tooth represents an organ. That is something I didn't know, and that is something I'm going to investigate more. I find it quite curious, in fact, because I had a wisdom tooth removed last year, and it left me with rather unpleasant feelings in my tongue and my jaw. I still haven't recovered fully from that operation. So it is quite curious how we know about reflexology and about our ears having energy points connected to each organ. Now we find out also that teeth are linked to our organs. I find it extraordinary. At the same time, the emotions we feel, they represent what we catch from the environment around us, as well as what we feel inside. When I say inside, our gut health is very, very important. How our digestive system feels, how our intestines feel, is a huge part of our health in general. Try this once and please share with me if you feel or if you notice significant changes, how you feel emotionally. If you do a cleansing through herbal teas, through exercise, and just making sure that you drink plenty of water, up to 2 liters a day, to maintain adequate water balance for the brain to function properly, as well as for the intestines to be properly hydrated. I started to pay attention whenever I feel down and have negative thoughts penetrating my mind. I start to first question whether or not these are mine, or am I picking up from collective or reacting to something outside of myself. Or if it's from within, then why do I feel that way? What have I eaten that could cause this feeling? Why do I suddenly start to feel heavier than normal? And by paying attention to such trivial details, I suppose, we do get to know ourselves and what really makes us tick, what makes us happy, what makes us function better and feel better. So we really get to know our needs and start to better tend to them. I've made sure that dance was a great part of my life. I don't really love dancing, but for a while I took classes also, and I can assure that the professional Latin classes, ballroom dancing, I'm talking about ballroom dancing, they have a great deal of science behind them, without probably intending to be, for correct functioning of the body, for correct posture, and most certainly for the best work for our digestive system. For the short period of time when I had the privilege of taking those classes, I've noticed such an enormous benefit. I even noticed how my grey hair started to grow dark again. I find that extraordinary. My diet hadn't changed quite so much, except for a much larger intake of water that I had to have to supplement all the perspiration during the dancing. And I've noticed that my sweat had no smell at all. It did not smell of sweat. It smelled of air. That's the level of cleanliness that the body achieves when it undergoes such intensive and deep exercise. And I'm talking about deep, involving the lower abdomen. I'm talking about the root chakra. I'm talking about the sacral chakra for sure. And those are the areas that we most have energies blocked without even realizing, because we spend a great deal of time sitting, lying down, in the car, behind the desk, and so on and so forth. But our bodies are not built to spend so much time in those positions. We are built to run, we're built to hunt, we're built to be a lot more athletic, physically active at the very least. So dancing of all types is thumbs up for everyone to feel good, to regain health and regenerate, to regain youth. It automatically generates the flow of endorphins that nothing else can provide. All sorts of exercise obviously gives us the endorphins, but dancing also has the pleasure of fun with it. Fun and joy are key elements of healthy living, and one of the biggest enemies of cancer. Cancer hates them. Cancer hates happiness and joy. But that being said, even though on the surface we can show that we're happy and joyful and go on living a happy-go-lucky lifestyle, that does not exclude the fact that we suppress emotions we don't often realize, which is why I do urge, ask, recommend, suggest everyone, you will benefit from looking inwards and trying to identify where you might be suppressing any emotions or feelings that you could but have not expressed. And if not, why not? Are we afraid of judgment? What do people we say that to or show it to would think of us? I think when it comes to health, it's very important to be truthful with ourselves and with others. because that not only heals us, it also heals them. What we suppress only creates lies, and lies create more lies. What we pretend will always come back and haunt us later. Even when we think that those are white lies, and sometimes it's necessary to hide things for the sake of not hurting somebody, it's not actually the best thing to do in the long run for anyone involved. The white lies too create the space for emotions to be suppressed. Suppressed meaning hidden from the light, hidden, and therefore anything hidden allows denser, darker energies to dwell in them. And ultimately that gets hold of the mind. When the mind is occupied with these darker matters, with these darker energies, it is very, 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 very difficult to get out of that place. It's easy to get stuck in a loop and go through the same thoughts over and over and over and over, and that in itself is a sign that a disease like cancer is not too far from getting hold of us. One should take that as a wake-up call and act on it without further delay to break the loops that they're stuck in and face emotions they might be suppressing. Find the courage within to speak to people who those emotions they associate with. Friends will always be friends, and those who will not, they were not friends. They were just passers-by, and that's okay. Anyone who matters will appreciate and understand and accept the truth. Truth is your friend, not the enemy. Cancer is the enemy. Diet will help reinforce the well-being, but the health starts in the mind and in the emotional body and in the spiritual body. We have at least 4 energetic bodies that we really need to keep them healthy. Our aura consists of our physical body, emotional body, mental body, and the spiritual body. And we must do all we can to maintain all 4 in good health. So hopefully you find this helpful, and I believe this to be one very precious gift which my mother has left us. Her struggles were not in vain, and although I wish she did not go through that experience, I also feel grateful that I was part of that experience and was given the wisdom and knowledge to what can prevent such a disastrous thing happening to others and myself. If I can, I'm not saying I'm not a saint. I'm struggling with emotional blockages myself. Very often, I'm not immune to that, which is why I'm sharing this also, to bring awareness to people who might be going through similar things. It is not easy, but it is possible, it is doable. Once we're aware, that's what changes the situation, that's what helps unravel the darkness, the dark matter, the denser energies. As soon as we shed light into that darkness, it starts to ease off, it starts to open up. Layer after layer, we start to understand what it is that we're dealing with and find our way out into the sun again. Let there be sun. The rain is quietening, but the energy and the smell, I wish you could smell what I smell right now. It's beautiful. It's absolutely gorgeous, amazing. Sometimes we get thunder as well, and I love thunderstorms. There is such a healthy release of energy by the nature. It can be so beautiful, actually. So with that, I leave you and wish you all well. Remember that you're not alone. There is always love around you. And more importantly, self-love, self-care. It is what each and every one of us needs to exercise. Stay centered and emotionally aware. Wishing you all well. Sending big love.